Hi everyone, and welcome to today's 4th grade informative writing lesson. Today we're on section 2, lesson 41. My name is Mrs. Calm and I will be your teacher for today's lesson. Let's jump right into our review of the prior lesson. What I taught you was how to set up a conclusion paragraph. Remember, I showed you 2 different ways of how you can structure your conclusion paragraph. The conclusion paragraph is the last paragraph of your entire essay. Now, there are many ways to write a conclusion paragraph, and these are just 2 examples. If you look on the left of your screen, I'm going to review the first way that you can set up your conclusion paragraph. The first sentence is giving an overview or summary of the topic. The second sentence, you would restate your 3 topics. And the third sentence, you would give a thought or feeling about the topic. On the right side of the screen is the second way that you can set up your conclusion paragraph. The first sentence, you would still give an overview or summary of the topic, and then you would break your 3 topic sentence into 2 or 3 sentences. That would be the second part of that way of writing a conclusion paragraph. That way you have 3 to 4 sentences. Remember, with a conclusion paragraph, there are many ways to write it. So if you want to set it up differently, that is fine. But always remember that your conclusion paragraph should be 3 to 4 sentences. It's okay if it's 5 sentences. You just don't want it to be only 1 sentence, and you also don't want it to be 10 sentences. It should be short and simple. You also want to make sure that you always bring back the 3 topics that you discussed in your essay, and that you make sure it's a complete and satisfying conclusion, which means it truly wraps up and closes out your entire essay, and it's 3 to 4 sentences. Now, we've learned all the paragraphs of the essay, and today we're going to learn how to make our essay a little better. So for today's learning goal, we're going to be reviewing transition words to use in an informative essay and challenging ourselves to use more advanced transition words. Now, up until now, we've been using first, second, third, and in conclusion as our transition words, which is fine. We were in the beginning stages of writing. I didn't want to teach you higher level vocabulary transition words in the beginning while we're also trying to learn how to write every single paragraph. So in the beginning, we just used first, second, and third. But now that you've learned how to write every paragraph, it's time to show you how to write more advanced, higher level transition words and how to use them in your essay. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about transition words for a second. Remember, transition words help organize your essay. They let your reader know every time you're starting a new paragraph with a new topic. We include a transition word at the beginning of each middle paragraph and the conclusion. You do not have a transition word for your introduction paragraph. You only have a transition word for your T1, your T2, your T3, and your conclusion paragraph. As you mature as writers, you're going to begin to use more mature vocabulary, and that's going to include more sophisticated transition words. So as you grow over time as a writer, you're going to become better and better. You're going to use higher vocabulary and higher level transition words. This is just part of that growth as a writer. So today, let me show you some other transition words that you can use instead of first, second, and third. I want to start by showing you the transition word list. I'm going to put it underneath the document camera for you. You can see here on this list, I have listed different words that you can use instead of first, different words that you can use instead of second, different words you can use instead of third, and different words you can use instead of conclusion. So if you're looking at the screen, instead of using the boring old word first, you can use one of these. To begin with, to start off, my number one reason, to kick off, for starters, or first and foremost. All of those can be used instead of the word first. Instead of the word second, we can use one of these words. We can say in addition, secondly, furthermore, another example, or another example why. And then instead of third, we can say last but not least, furthermore, the last reason, lastly, or the third reason. These are all other ways to say third. And then instead of saying conclusion or in conclusion, we can use one of these. To summarize, in any case, in short, all in all, as a review, in a nutshell, to sum it all up, you can see why, as you can see, as I have noted, and to wrap it all up. Now, this is just a short list of transition words. You can Google transition words for first, and you're going to get a whole list of transition words. You can Google transition words for second, and you'll get a whole list. Same for third and conclusion. So feel free to add more words to this transition word list. Now, today, I want you to create your own transition word list. Now, you can make it on a note card or an index card like this, or just somewhere in your writing notebook. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how I want you to do this. I want you to take your paper or your index card. I want you to call it transition word list. I want you to write T1, T2, T3, and C, and then 2 lines for each, because I want you to choose today 2 transition words for each paragraph that you can use in your future essays. So, looking at this list that we just went over, I'm going to create my transition word list, okay? So go ahead, pause the video if you need to draw this out. Maybe you have it in your writing notebook or on an index card, and when you're done, come back and push play. All right, let's keep moving along. Now, for today, I'm going to create my transition word list. Now, you're picking transition words that you like using. So this is going to be your list. So I'm going to look off the transition word list that I have, and I'm going to pick 2 ways that I want to say first instead of using the word first, that I'm going to use when I get to my T1 paragraph from now on. So instead of using first, I think I'm going to use to begin with. I like that one. And I also like first and foremost, so I'm going to choose that one as my second option. And when I get to my T2 paragraph, instead of using second from now on, I think I'm going to use furthermore. I like that one. And in addition. So furthermore and in addition, those are the 2 that I choose. And for third, instead of saying third, I'm going to choose last but not least and lastly. So last but not least and lastly. These are the 2 that I am choosing. And for conclusion, I actually really like to sum it all up right here. See, to sum it all up, I'm going to choose that one to sum it all up. And I like as a review. So when I write my essays from now on, instead of using first when I get to T1, I'm going to use either to begin with or first and foremost. And when I get to T2, instead of using second, I'm going to use either furthermore or in addition. And when I get to T3, instead of using third, I'm going to use last but not least or lastly. And when I get to my conclusion from now on, instead of saying in conclusion, I'm going to say to sum it all up or as a review. Now, I want you to create this exact same transition word list, except I want you to choose the words that you like. So using this transition word list that we have here, okay, I want you to fill out your word list and pick the ways that you like to say first, second, and third, and conclusion, okay? But we don't want to use the basic words anymore. Now, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to try from here on out to not use the basic transition words anymore. I don't want you to use first, second, third, or in conclusion. I want you to really try from now on, from today, for now on, I want you to use one of these more advanced transition words. Now, you may want to add more to this list that we have here, and maybe choose something different. That's perfectly fine, but I really want you to try your hardest not to use the basic ones. Now, I do want to say this though. Put first, second, third, and in conclusion in a box in the back of your head. I call it my backup box. If you're ever writing an essay, maybe you're taking some sort of test and you can't think of something else. All you can think about is the word first. You can't come up with another transition word. In that case, you can use first. That's fine. Okay, but I want you to try your hardest to not use first, second, third, or in conclusion anymore. Okay, so I want you to pause this video, fill out your transition word list, and then come back on and push play so we can keep moving along in the lesson. Okay, we are back. You should have your transition word list completed. Now, I want to show you an example essay just to kind of show you exactly how it's all laid out, okay? When a full essay is done with the transition words. So, what I did was I coded this essay for you a little differently than it is on the screen. I just wanted to show you. You can see the first paragraph, which is the I. Second paragraph is T1. Third paragraph, T2. Fourth paragraph, T3. And fifth paragraph, C. I want you to notice that there is no transition words for I, but there is a transition word for T1. There is a transition word for T2. There is a transition word for T3. And there is a transition word for C. I want you to also notice that when I started each paragraph before my transition word, I have an indent space. See this space here? I'm highlighting in orange. Every time you start a paragraph, you have to indent. That should come before your transition word. I also want to point out that after my transition words, I always have a comma. See, to begin with, then a comma. Furthermore, then a comma. Last but not least, then a comma. And to wrap it all up, and then a comma. I did not use first, second, third, or in conclusion. I used my new words from my transition word list. Okay, so now I want you to do an activity. This is a short and simple activity. This is where you are going to be using your new transition words. Okay, so take out practice essay lesson 41. Practice essay lesson 41. Okay, it looks like this. It's actually on the back of the page I just wrote on. Now, I already wrote the essay for you. All you are simply going to do, this is actually only going to take you probably 2 minutes at the most, is I want you to take your new transition word list that you just created, and I want you to go into this essay, and I want you to fill out the transition word for each paragraph that you would write if this was your essay. So you're going to fill out your T1 transition word, your T2 transition word, your T3 transition word, and your conclusion transition word. And it should come from your new list. So if I was doing this, for T1, I would either put to begin with or first and foremost because that's on my list. So I would put one of those. I'd choose which one I want to use. And then for my T2, I'd put furthermore or in addition. That's all you have to do for this practice essay. You should have this essay in front of you. If you don't, you can simply just put T1, T2, T3, and C, and then just put what transition word that you would choose. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, take maybe a minute or two, and complete this activity, and then come back on, and we will continue in the lesson. Okay, you should have completed the practice for lesson 41. I want you to go back to that practice and take a look at it. I want you to check a few things for your self-assessment. First, I want to make sure that you wrote a new fancy transition word for T1. Make sure it does not say first there. Then I want you to make sure you wrote your new fancy transition word for T2. Make sure it doesn't say second. Then I want you to check, did you write your new fancy transition word for T3? Make sure it does not say third. And then I want you to check to make sure you have a new fancy transition word for your conclusion. Make sure it doesn't say in conclusion. Okay, so you are checking this paper here. You're checking this activity you just did and making sure that you didn't put first, second, third, and conclusion. Make sure you used one of your new transition words and make sure it came from your transition word list. All right, I want you to take a look at those transition words that you created on your transition word list and on the activity sheet you just did. I want you to ask yourself a few questions. You do not have to write the answers down. Just think about this for a second. What did I do well? What did I forget? And what can I improve? Okay, so looking at your activity sheet that you just did and your transition word list, take a minute, think about these questions and the answers. What did I do well? What did I forget? And what can I improve? Okay, make a mental note of those answers. And let's move on to the revision part. Okay, I want you to look at your transition word lists and your practice activity. I want you to see if you forgot to use a new transition word. If you did, you can add it now. See if you made a mistake. If you did, you can add it now. And then always, always, always double check your spelling of your new transition words. Okay, take some time. If you need to pause the video, you can. Make sure you make those corrections now. And the last part I'm going to leave you with is your homework for today. Your homework says Lesson 41, Homework Essay. These are new passages, okay, so you will need to get the rainforest passages. I'm going to show you what this looks like underneath the document camera. Right here, you'll see that you are going to have an entire essay to write for your homework, okay? You are going to read these passages. Here's the prompt. You're going to plan, and then you're going to write your entire essay. You're going to write your I, your T1, your T2, and your T3 on these pieces of paper. Now, here's the most important part of the directions. Use your new transition words when you write this essay, okay? I do not want to see first, second, third, or in conclusion. So when you write this new essay, as you get to each paragraph, please make sure that you are using your new transition words, okay? And make sure you put that transition word list in your writing folder or somewhere that you will not lose it, because you're going to need it from now on every time you write an essay. I'm going to leave you today with another quote. Here it goes. Picture your brain forming new connections as you meet the challenge and learn. Keep on going. Okay, so every time you're meeting that challenge, you learn something new, your brain's forming new connections. So keep on going, keep pushing yourself. We have learned all the parts of an essay. Now we're learning some things that we can do to make it even better, and you all are doing a great job. So remember that homework, you're writing a full essay with new passages, and you're using those new transition words. See you all in the next lesson. Have a great day.